Hello and welcome to the 50 Cent Tour / 99th Monkey News, October 3rd, 2013. I want to begin with a couple of things that I could only find on Facebook. And one is, they're related. One is from John Muncy, who is a Christian preacher. Will a 9.7 earthquake hit San Francisco October 3rd, 2013, as some prophets have warned? Well, that's today. I live in the Bay Area. It's about 12 noon and we haven't had an earthquake yet. And I appreciate what John Muncy had to say about this, basically stating Christian prophets are frequently wrong in predicting things like earthquakes and judgment. For whatever reason, God is a lot more merciful than most people, and he doesn't seem to want to do the damage that people think that he wants to do. So there's that from John Muncy that is pertaining to the West Coast. Fritz Springmeier also yesterday had an interesting post about a tsunami that has been prophesied for the East Coast. And Fritz gets into this a little more deeply, stating that he believes that the Illuminati actually have the ability to give Christian prophets, maybe false prophets, maybe not, dreams about disasters that the prophets then take as a prophetic message. And this sort of thing can generate a lot of fear. We know that God doesn't want us to be fearful. One of the most common statements made by God in the Bible is "fear not." And angels also said that many times. God does not want us to be afraid. I've mentioned in the past about Lush generation and how Lush is a substance that's generated from negative emotions, most especially fear, most powerfully fear. And the substance called Lush actually feeds dark and demonic entities. And I've heard Christian prophets talk about Lush, and they don't name it by name, but obviously there are substances in the spiritual realm that affect how things play out, and whether we release negative like fear or positive like love and joy can be very significant in determining the outcome of things that are in play. So the bad guys want us to be afraid. That's what I'm trying to say. And this, if you're on Facebook, find Fritz Springmeier. This doesn't take a very long time to read, but it is just, Fritz just hit a home run, and this expresses these ideas so clearly. And he's not just getting off hip shots here. Fritz actually knows about these things. It's not speculation for him. He has specific knowledge of some of these things. I just want to mention this in that same context. The other two were more for Christians. This is more for any liberty people. NASA announcement to shake the earth on November 13th, 2013. And there's a video in this article. I listened to the first few seconds of the video. Frankly, I don't recommend listening to it. I am not buying this. I don't believe that this is true. Even if it is true, this is not where I want to place my focus, because, if some huge cosmic thing happens, I can't impact it except to pray. And I would rather focus on things that maybe I can impact by writing a letter to a congressman or a senator or whatever. Even on Ascension with Earth is this disclaimer. Discernment advised, as there is no proof that this is an actual NASA-affiliated website. Also, you will notice that NASA's main website is shut down due to the government shutdown. So I'm more introducing the idea of this video in the same context as the last two news articles that I mentioned, well, actually not articles, but Facebook statuses, that there are a lot of people out there who are trying to generate fear. And if we can avoid fear, we can contribute to the better things happening, contribute to circumstances resolving in what's beneficial for more people. This Dave Hodges, The Common Sense Show, I don't typically read this guy. I have a friend who really likes him a lot. I'm not vouching for him, but this is a good article. We are 90 days away from the total loss of U.S. sovereignty. And this article is about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And the first place I heard about the Trans-Pacific Partnership was from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And it is a real issue, and it does have potential to have sweeping negative impact. And it probably behooves us all to learn about this and to not allow ourselves to be in a continual state of being distracted by whatever drum the government happens to be beating, which now happens to be the shutdown. And I have heard that there was some kind of a shooting in Washington, D.C. this morning. I'm guessing that that is now what the big news will be, what everybody wants us to focus on. Meanwhile, things like this, the potential for this treaty, are percolating in the background. And I think that it's important for all of us to remain aware of what's going on. Another place where you can learn a lot about the TPP, expose the TPP, and it is a significant issue. Okay, so this is kind of inevitable that we move toward this topic, the shutdown, the 9 most painful impacts of a government shutdown. And Zero Hedge had an article that they wanted to cause the most pain possible with the shutdown, but it didn't give enough detail. So I wanted an article, and this is from the Washington Post, and they list the impacts. What are the impacts of the shutdown? And I won't go through all of them. The one that I think is significant is millions of veterans may not receive benefits if the shutdown lasts more than 2 weeks. And there are some other people who are losing benefits, women, infants, and children, and Social Security benefits for the disabled could be impacted. And, you know, I'm not all in favor of social programs, but to just very suddenly stop some of these programs, I think, has potential to really cause a lot of tension and raise the potential for there to be outbreaks of violence and expressions of anger. One other thing that's looming here is U.S. Treasury warns that default could cause huge economic crisis. If this goes on until, I think it's the 17th, let's see, J.P. Morgan says Treasury has $30 billion, which will cover payments until November 17th. So this is another threat. I mean, this is the bankers extorting money and using fear to manipulate us. Interestingly enough, as Campaign for Liberty reports, 43% of government non-essential, according to the government. Recently, there has been a lot of talk about essential versus non-essential government employees. With the federal government shutdown, all non-essential employees have been placed on furlough. But why do we have non-essential government employees to begin with? I think that is a reasonable question. And Max Keiser's weigh-in on the shutdown: America, one giant hedge fund and the world's greatest soap opera. We've lost our leadership role in the world. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. I don't think there are a whole lot of other nations in the world that would want to use us as a model anymore for democracy or liberty. Sad but true. Some of them are more adamantly disliking us than others. Venezuela president kicks out U.S. diplomats, declares no cordial ties until sovereignty respected. We have been pushing people around for so long, and by we I mean the U.S. government. And people are beginning to push back outside of the country and inside of the country. Here's an interesting news article, and this is recent from October 1st. Breaking news: chemtrails, geoengineering temporarily suspended in 3 major U.S. cities. I believe, based on what I read in this article, that the temporary suspension ended on September 30th. So it was very temporary, and it was in, I think, LA, San Francisco, and San Diego. And I will say that I'm in the Bay Area, and we have not noticed a whole lot of chemtrails lately. I'm not exactly sure how this person managed to pull this off, but it's interesting that it happened, and there's just some general information in this article that is helpful. And that article references this website, which I visited just because I was unaware of it until now. Prepare for change. Our new society is almost here. And I just read a little bit about this in the Start Here tab. I thought some people might find this website and this approach interesting, maybe helpful. So there are people out there who are trying to lend a hand to see that something good happens for America and the world. Here's an article about more of them from WorldNet Daily. Truckers roar to D.C. with impeachment movement. And this is planned for, I believe it is October 11th. This paragraph says, in less than 2 weeks, thousands of truckers will descend on Washington, D.C., driving their big rigs and calling for the restoration of a constitutional republic. But now their plan has taken a new twist. Their friends and families will simultaneously join other Americans rallying on overpasses across the nation for Obama's impeachment. So I'm wondering how this truckers rolling into D.C. will blend with the shutdown, if the shutdown is still going on at that time. I think that we will have to stay tuned, but certainly be praying that our voices are heard, and that in asking for a restoration of our constitutional republic, we will receive that our prayers will be to God for deliverance from tyranny and release from oppression. And He has done that throughout human history. He loves to do that. And Isaiah 61, there's a scripture that says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for He has anointed me to bring good news to the afflicted, to heal the brokenhearted, to release prisoners from bondage." So we know that he likes to release people from bondage. So let's keep asking him to do that, and he will. Just as a reminder, the dawn is coming, and weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.